12 weeks now to come and just share with you. And so, hi, it's Ethnic Green here, Ethnic Green Living, and I'm so excited to have you guys back. As we dive into week 12 of the book Uninvited by Lisa Turquoise, I want to thank all of you guys that have stuck with me all this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To all the new people, hi, welcome. Be sure to check the description box and you can catch up on videos 1 through 11. But this chapter 12, the enemy's plan against you, I thought would be great if you could kind of hear some of it. I know all of you don't have the book. So she says, I'm not a fan of lions at all. Not at all. Because they aren't picky with their food choices. Whether you're a gazelle that got separated from the herd or a tourist crazy enough to sleep in a tent where lions roam, they'll think that you look amazing, and it really makes no difference to them if you're covered in animal fur or a Gap t-shirt. They will stalk you if they're hungry. These creatures have woven in their DNA an animal instinct that's nearly impossible to override. You can try to chain them, you can try to domesticate them, and for a while you might even be able to snuggle them like a pet. But coursing underneath their tamed appearance is an instinct of a wild beast. Beast I never thought I'd encounter face to face, but I was wrong. When my family and I decided we wanted to go back to the continent where my 2 sons were born and do mission work, a splinter of fear shot through my heart. Because then I scolded myself for being so stereotypical. A white girl in America thinks of Africa and instantly sees Hudson lions. Shame on me. I tossed my fear aside as I packed a ridiculous amount of clothes and hair products to head to the mission field. We were off to save the world, or at least feed some beautiful kids in an orphanage tucked in the base of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. We loved and we learned, and we left with a lump of emotion in our throats. And then we made good on the promise to our family that we'd go on an African picture-taking safari our last 2 nights there. We pulled up to our accommodations and I swallowed hard, partially because of the dust from the drive that covered every inch of me and coated my throat with the unpleasant feeling I'd been snacking on sand, but also because I saw tents, for real. They were fabric-sided and triangle-shaped with zipper closures for front doors. And the full spirit of disclosure, let me add, they were sitting on top of wooden platforms, and each of them had a bed and a potty inside. But back to the sign about not leaving your tent after dark ever. There was another small detail on the sign you should know about. The instruction not to keep any food in a tent. We're talking not a cracker or even the 10 little M&Ms that sit at the bottom of your purse in case of a really desperate day. I quickly discerned the opposition to us having snacking foods wasn't some sort of effort to keep us to manage our weight. It was because the lions would smell the food and come after it, and in the process come after us. Call me Lucy, but I was suddenly no longer in the mood to be in a tent in Africa with snack-crazy lions nearby. My people, on the other hand, find situations like this thrilling. They jump off quarries, they swim with sharks, and they wish they could be tornado chasers. I much prefer to sit in the quiet corners, reading books and enjoying emergency M&Ms for the thrill. To say I was fretting Nightfall is quite an understatement. Art announced that he was going to bed, and just like that, drifted into a cozy little dream. Meanwhile, I had the death grip on the top bed sheet and I could hear my heart drumming against the lumpy mattress. I wanted to take a sleeping pill, but when I found the empty wrapper and confirmed a terrible thing. Art had already taken one. This meant that I was the only one sorrowful enough to ward the lions should they venture into the camp. A bad warning that nothing but sheer terror and absolute anxiety. The guards had assured us the lions wouldn't come. They lied. Right when I was flirting with the edge of sleep, a creature brushed the length of my tent and, wait for it, roared. Roar. Think of the sound that monster under your bed from your childhood imagination would undoubtedly make whenever he jumped out to get you. Now magnify that by about 10 times, African animal style. And then the lion moaned and whined as he brushed the tent again, this time inches from my head. Art, the calm one who fixes stuff like this, had already been rendered useless by his night-night pill. I was infuriated the sign had instructed all husbands against taking sleeping pill medicine. I held my body perfectly still, barely letting air in and out of my lungs, but my mind would not cooperate. It fired off one imagined scene after another of all the worst scenarios and horrific outcomes that could possibly come of this rather unfortunate situation. Though I never stepped outside the tent or touched a beast of any sort, I suffered a brutal attack of the mind. I wrestled that lion and I lost because I let him get the best of my thoughts. I'm not writing about the scenario so that you'll be better prepared if you're ever in a safari staying in a tent. You don't have to go to Africa to get stalked by a lion. There is a roaring lion waiting just around every next thought you think. And make no mistakes, there's no taming him. He's a defeated foe who's already suffered a fatal blow. But before he falls, he'll try to make a few last-minute kills. With everything he's got left, he's coming after your mind. This injured lion is the most vicious of all. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. And that's 1 Peter 5:8. He's not just looking to distract you, okay? Or tempt you, or pull you slightly off course. He's looking to devour you. But we must remember something crucial. The devil is vicious, but he is not victorious. And you, my friend, have everything you need to defeat him. You don't have to lie there shaking in your bed with a death grip on the cover, feeling powerless and deathly afraid. The devil is powerful, but he's also predictable. We are told in 1 John 2:16 the exact 3 ways he's going to come after us. For everything in the world, the craving of sinful man, the lust of his eyes, and the boasting of what he has and does, comes not from the Father, but from the world. He's coming after me today by making me want to get my needs met outside of the will of God. He will dangle scenarios in front of me that evoke feelings that tempt me to cave, lust, and to boast. Crave. I feel empty. Whenever I feel lonely or less than, I think I can fill my emptiness with temporary physical pleasures. The things I consume soon consumes my thoughts, which started as little thing has become something in which I can't ever get quite enough of. Lust, I feel deprived. When my eyes see shiny, sexy, and slick things others have, I become a laser focus that I need something to make my life more shiny. Justifications come easy, rationalizations numb my conscience. Be it possessions, person, or position, I am lured by the intoxicated notion that I can seek outside of the will of God to get what I want and that it's no big deal. Boast. I feel rejected. Do I ever post something on social media to try to make myself feel better or more accepted? The likes and the comments ward off the sting of rejection, but at what cost? Is it just a mass form of boasting when I pick up the pictures that make my life appear a little bit more polished than it actually is? I want to skip a little bit because I'm already at almost 9 minutes. Jesus knew what being rejected felt like. Jesus knew. He knew the feelings. He knew the struggles. And in the earth-shattering moment, Jesus exposes the way of escape for us. He matched every feeling, the emptiness, the evaporation, and the rejection with truth straight from God's words. Lies flee in the presence of truth. And the devil turns powerless when our minds are turned to the all-powerful God. Here's where I become quite fascinated. Jesus had access to thousands of scriptures from the Old Testament. He knew them. He could have used any of them, but he chose 3 specific ones. So I've decided I want these 3 to be at the top of my mind, and I suggest you guys do the same. So for the sake of time, I'm going to just tell you what they are. I want to promise for my problem of feeling empty. Deuteronomy 8:3, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes out of the mouth of the Lord. I want to promise for my problem of feeling deprived. Fear the Lord your God, serve him, serve only him, and take your oaths to him in his name. Deuteronomy 6:13. Another version of this verse says, worship him, your true God, and serve him. That's from The Voice. Is my attention being held by something sacred or something secret? Sacred worship is all about God. What is holding my attention the most is what I'm truly worshiping. Secret worship is about something in this world that seems so attractive on the outside, but will devour you on the inside. Pornography, sex outside of marriage, trading your character to claw your way to a position of power, filling your sense of worth with your child's success, and spending outside of your means to constantly dress your life in the next new thing. All things we do to counterfeit feelings of being left out and not invited to the good things God has given others. These are just some of the ways lust sneaks in and wreaks havoc. Two words that characterize misplaced worship are lust and secret access. God says if we direct our worship to Him, He will give us strength to turn away from the mistakes of yesterday and provide portions of our needs today. Whom have I in heaven but you? And earth has nothing I desire but you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And this comes from Psalm 73, and this is 25 to 26. And I certainly want to promise from my problem of feeling rejected, do not put the Lord your God to the test. And that comes from Deuteronomy 6 and 16. It says, He is jealous for you, He is jealous for me. The fullness of His love and lavish acceptance are the only match for rejections we will experience. And He absolutely doesn't want us to make other relationships the false gods of our worship. As we seek love and acceptance, God doesn't want for us to test Him. He wants us to trust Him. So your question is, are you testing Him or are you trusting Him? So that's one question of the week. When He says we are holy and dearly loved children, we must trust that that is true. Study these three promises proclaimed by Jesus has captured my heart. When I remember the promises of God, I tap into the power of God. God's promises are always a perfect match for our problems, and our problem instigator, the devil, the lions, no match for God's promise. Promise doesn't tame the lion. They shame the lion back to hell. They shut his mouth. They turn his roar into a whimper, and they make him run timid when the Bible toting, scripture memorizing girl in a Gap t-shirt looks his way. She is terrifyingly brave and is so beautiful. That's you, that's me. That's why we have to remember where we pay attention to matters more than we know. Our minds and our hearts are like dry sponges. What we focus on is what will soak in and saturate us. So if it's something foolish, we'll make foolish decisions. If it's something wise, we'll make wise decisions. And Satan knows this. So he constantly puts things in front of us to try to grab our attention. Remember, like a lion is drawn to a food source, Satan rushes in where he smells emptiness, deprivation, and rejection. If we pay attention to foolish things or things that fuel foolishness in us, we will bankrupt our perspective and we'll be more likely to fall prey into Satan's schemes. Satan's schemes are very well thought out plans specifically targeted at our particular weakness to do three things: to increase our desire for something outside the will of God, to make us think giving in to weakness is no big deal, to minimize our ability to think through the consequences of falling into this temptation. Okay? That's why it's crucial to watch what's influencing us and our thoughts. So here is our second question for this chapter. Where are we paying our attention? Where are we paying our attention? Where are we paying our attention? Specifically, what am I praying? What am I paying attention to first thing in the morning? And what am I paying attention to right before I go to sleep? If I want God to be my focus, I must give Him my first thoughts. And if I want my mind to be at peace when I go to sleep, I must keep my thoughts fixed on His promises at night, whether I'm in a tent on the African plain or not. Obviously, I don't have lions regularly brushing by my house, but I don't want to forget that night in a tent where I experienced the reality of the prowl, the roar, and the danger. It was frightening, but the lion's power over me stopped the minute the guards showed up with the tranquilizer guns. One shot and that lion fell. Truth is the perfect tranquilizer. The enemy's power is rendered powerless in the presence of God's promises. Remember this, receive this, use this, practice this, live this. Thank you guys for joining me for week 12.